الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I extend the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam. I extend high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
I extend honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you, the Moors, with compound interest. Islam?
Islam.
This is also the flag of our birth. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Sending honors to the noble Sheik staff, noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the ills and bays, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam?
Islam.
How's everyone on the holy night? Praise Allah, praise Allah. Tonight, I would like to draw from Moorish literature. In the ways of our forefathers, when you were summoned to the temple on a holy night, on a Friday night, you were summoned to the temple, and the master, whether it be the Grand Sheik or the rabbi or whomever, or the imam, whatever titles we use in our different cultures, use that time to remind people of the law. Islam, Moors? Because it's not in the human nature, your carnal self, to remember these things. Your body will call you to do things to escape or to evade the law, to escape or to evade discipline. Islam? Brother Acton Sheik demonstrated something out of chapter 5. If somebody could go to chapter 5 real quick for me and go down to the instruction that speaks about the square. Okay, whoever gets it first, just say Islam and you read that for me. Islam, Mobadis, what you got?
We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and to make the corners of our conduct square.
Islam. So we were instructed that when we do our Moorish American prayer, we're to stand on our square. Islam. All right. I need a volunteer that knows the Moorish American prayer. Somebody put a hand up. Anybody? Jamal? Mind coming up more? Islam more. If you don't mind, just demonstrate the Moorish American prayer, as though you were about to close the meeting. So to the east and everything. Islam.
Fingers on the right, 5 on the left. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen.
Amen. Islam. Oh, gratitude, man. Islam. Praise Allah. So, if you notice when the brother demonstrated the prayer, there was a specific way that he did it. He didn't just get up here and blaze through it. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, like he's at an auction. Islam demonstrated slow, methodically, with thought, with spirit. Islam, the Prophet gives us the instruction. He says, reflection is the business of man, and a sense of his state, his first duty. Right? So the state of your being is your first duty, right? Not making sure Georgia Power is paid, not making sure the rent is paid. You got to do all of that, obviously, right? But to make sure the sense of your state is in alignment. Islam, Moors? Make sure when you demonstrate that prayer is a reflective prayer, right? As you're uttering the prayer, you're meditating on each word that you utter. Islam? I could do a whole demonstration tonight on the name Allah alone. I could be 3 hours easily in just on Allah. Islam, let alone the Father of the universe. Why father and not mother? We could get into that. Why the universe? Islam, Moors, what is a universe? Right? We think planets, stars, and quasars. But aren't you a universe? Islam? And should the nearest place that you meet Allah is in the heart. The Prophet taught us, right? Which happens to be key 4, right? Nearest place to meet Allah is in the heart. So Allah is within you, and if he's the Father of the universe, he's the Father who's supposed to be that governs that universe. Islam, Moors? So these are the things that we reflect upon when we say our prayer, right? That Moorish American prayer is something that you invoke throughout the day. It's not something we just do on Friday, right? by laws that have been handed down. Most people don't know that it was in the customs of our Moorish American forefathers, post-Prophet Noble Drew Ali, to do that prayer at least 3 times a day. At least 3 times a day, right? You get in a car with a Moorish elder, right? Before they put that car in reverse, they stop. Islam, prayer more. Do the prayer. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing guaranteed that you're going to make it to your destination. So you want to invoke some energies to make sure that you get where you're supposed to be. Islam? To align yourself with things that you're supposed to be aligned with. Because there are forces that if you're not in alignment, they're there too to take you out. Islam Morris? All right, so you want to be in alignment with the right thing. So, you know, we summon ones to the temple to remind you of the law, right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali in 1928 during the first annual convention put forth a series of laws, right? These are found in some of these are found in Moorish literature under different articles, one of which is entitled, "The Prophet Has Spoken." It says, all governors and grand sheiks and head officials that guide any body of Moors of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So he's talking to the leadership, Islam. He or she must be of good moral standard and a heart of love. And their works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are to imitate the Prophet in speech and teaching in any said temples, in any said temple parts of. They must not be under the influence of intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that would terminate to become detrimental to the organization. It must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow the public to know of their wrongdoings. They must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all the members. They must not speak rash words nor any profane language in the mildest form to any other individual, because a leader without the influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down unto you by I, the Prophet. Islam Moors? Now when he says handed down unto you by I, the Prophet, he hands it down to you by the holy instructions, right? So he gives you the Quran, the divine constitution, but when you get into the holy instructions, that's the laws that are coming down to you directly from the Prophet. Islam Moors? All right? It says no finance business is to be opened with any group of members of any temple by the governor or the grand sheik or whosoever is in charge without the consultation of either Prophet. All uplifting funds, books are to be issued only through either Prophet, because that money is to finance the Moorish movement. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund, which cannot exceed the amount from 25 cents to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues also to the supporting of each said temple and its domestic work. No finance books are to be served in any temple except by the Prophet. The head of every temple must by law obey the word of the Prophet, and if any leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge and is subject to enforcement of the law by the grand body. And the penalty may be a fine or a removal from office, or placed under a very heavy restriction of the law. Supreme words of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam Moors? All right. Now you can hear by the tone there was a certain series of incidents that were taking place in the temples where the Prophet had to put certain laws in motion, i.e. the embezzlement of finances. Islam? Why morality was key to holding a position in the Moorish movement? Because the Prophet had to know that you were trustworthy, that you weren't going to steal from the people. Islam Moors? That you weren't going to misguide the people, that you weren't going to tear up families. All of this stuff has happened, right? Because y'all remember, if you look at the timeline that the Prophet was moving in, where he was setting up these temples, from 1925 to 1929, this Moor was moving. You got to remember, he passed away at 43 years old. Started at 27, passed at 43, both divine numbers, by the way, right? But the point is that, he was putting people in place and educating them along the lines of a moral basis to give the movement a good, solid foundation. Islam, where that foundation finds itself cracked, it inhibits the collective of the entire movement. Islam Wars, right? So when you want to make sure that as we're demonstrating these degrees, as we're going over this information, the history and all that type of stuff, that we're taking the time to cultivate ourselves, right? To raise us up, ourselves up higher than what we've been, right? We look at all the great stuff our forefathers did. We got a long way to go before we get back to that. And the Egyptian proverb says, woe to the student that does not surpass his master, not equal his master. But the pyramids is just a sign. You're supposed to do greater than that. Islam, you look at the gigantic temples and mosques and stuff, all that stuff in Morocco and all that stuff our forefathers did, North and Northwest Africa, all, profound legacy. That's good to look at. But if we're not doing that work here in America in these days and times, we might as well not even bring it up that our forefathers did it. Because it's taught, we're instructed that you must be the message that you bring. Islam laws? All right. Moving forward to another set of laws. This is called the general laws. And if anybody has any questions, by the way, please stop me. Islam? General laws are said by the Prophet. This is Tuesday, October 17th, 1928. Every temple and head is to function by words, deeds, and actions imitating the Prophet, especially when teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. These are the general laws. The supreme laws will be handed to you later. The heads of all temples are to submit a report monthly of all finance. The heads of all temples are to refrain from all wrathful words, profanity in the mildest form from all members of his or her temple. They must live the life of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors, any other harmful harmful possibility that will terminate to destroy peace, or any of the other divine principles. They are not to contribute to anything that will cause the public to disagree with him or her. And for one to lead a group of Moors, you must keep your house clean with good deeds and kind words. Your wives, brothers, must hear good words, kind words, and must know of your good deeds. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this divine principle, for if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge for membership or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by the Prophet. Those who contribute to either of the preceding are not Moors, but robbers. Membership, sisters and brothers, is free, not only here, but all over the world. Notice the Prophet in that, this is 1928, and in the arrangement of the genders in that section, he says membership, sisters and brothers. Islam Moors? Membership, sisters and brothers. Islam, remember that? The button is 25 cents, the card is 25 cents, and 1 month's dues is paid. Every member pays 50 cents a month for dues. Again, this is 1928. This money goes towards the support of the temple. This, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection that's provided for you, especially if you are not working or in the position to work. If you neglect to fulfill the small duty assigned you, how can you rightfully expect money or other help when you are sick or otherwise disabled? You see what the Prophet intended for us to be, right? So all these things, oh man, I lost my job and I don't know how I'm gonna, as a part of the temple, that shouldn't even be a concern of yours. If you're a member in good standing. Islam Moors? All right? Prophet says, and to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and divine constitution that is handed down to you by other prophet. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund, cannot exceed the amount of 25 cents to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues go to the support of the temple and its domestic work. The head of the temple must by law obey the word of the prophet. And if any head leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is charged, and he's subject to the enforcement of the law by the grand body, and the penalty may be a fine, removal from office, or placed under a very heavy restriction of the law. Islam Moors? Supreme words of the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Why did the Prophet repeat himself? Repetition is the mother of mastery. Right? The more you go over something, it becomes part of every part. Why does a carpenter take and hit, master carpenter right here, why does the carpenter take the hammer and hit the nail repeatedly? To make it a part of every part. Islam more? So it's the same thing. You go over these lessons over and over again. You're conforming your nature to Allah's will. Islam? Because in the realm of Negro, Black, and Color, there was nothing that you were a part of that conformed your nature to divine order. There's nothing. I was just talking to my mother. I was in New Jersey yesterday and a couple days before, and my mother, praise Allah, she's 76 years old. We just talking about just different things, like how it's funny how you buy a brand new car and it comes with an owner's manual, but you're born and you get nothing to tell you how to run you, how to govern you, what type of foods to put in the body. Should you drink water and not soda? Should you not be at Popeyes in line for that new chicken sandwich they got out that everybody's wrapped around the corner about? Islam? But, and I say that in jest just to lighten the spirit, but that's a reality. Islam, so Allah loved us so much, that he sent us an angel, he sent us a prophet to remind us of these divine laws, right? And to put us in the spirit of our forefathers. I bear witness that this is not just an organization, that I'm a part of in this day and time, I literally feel connected back in the mind state of my forefathers, right? So being as I proclaim my nationality in October 2001, I don't feel that there's a disconnect between me and my forefathers. Islam was, I see the young ones in the room. Islam, thank y'all for coming and being patient, right? But none of these young people in the room, when February rolls around and they do that Black History Month to them, right? None of them should have to, just, well, you got to do a report. Oh, I got to do a report on Harriet Tubman all over again, and Frederick Douglass, and Search on the Truth. Islam was, all great Asiatics, and we honor them. Islam was, let's make that perfectly clear. Somebody say something? You say something? I thought you said something. Go ahead, say it, speak up. You at home, what'd you say? Huh? One more time? He said Islam or, right? Praise up, see? Right? Trying to attack, Paul, prophet working on soul plane. Anyway, but the point is that they should have a greater treasure trove to draw from. Y'all come from a mighty, mighty, mighty people. Islam, all right? Do y'all know anything about yourselves before slavery? What did our people do before they said we were slaves? Anybody? No? How many of y'all like math? Anybody like math? Oh, let's do that a different way. Anybody like money? Y'all like money? Who likes money? Y'all like money? Okay, all right. So you gotta go a different way. So in order to count money, you gotta use math, right? Who created math? Anybody know? Next time you look in the mirror, remember that the people that invented math look just like you. Right? So if they ask you to do a report about your people, throw that in the report. That the founders of math are my people. Put my in big capital letters. They're gonna tell you that's bad grammar to put it lower, but put it big anyway. Islam was? All right? Because the reality of it is more, they have to know that they have a birthright. And it's our duty as the elders. I know some of you might not consider yourself old like that. 40 is the new elder. If I get called unc or dad or pop by another person in their 20s, I'm gonna lose my mind. Islam Morris? I mean, I'm at the door of 50, but I ain't there yet, But we the new elders. Islam? And just like when we got a certain age, we looked at our elders like, yo, where's my birthright? You know what I'm saying? Where's my inheritance? Right? It's our duty to set that up for these young people. Islam Morris? Key to that is a particular instruction the prophet gave. For those of you who have Qurans, please go to chapter 22. Parts up. Chapter 22, duty of a husband. Anybody, inform me as to why this instruction would be important? Why would the duty of a husband be important to nation building? The floor is open. Islam, brother Akil.
Islam, arise, giving all praise to Allah, and the highest of honors to His noble and divine prophet, Drali.
Islam, what? You recognize?
Islam, nationhood is family.
Islam? Break that down a little bit more.
Nation is all about running your family as you would a business.
Mm-hmm.
So in your running of the business, you have certain duties.
Mm-hmm.
There's a duty for the wife, there's a duty for the husband, there's a duty for the children.
Islam.
We know those in Act 7 of our Divine Constitution of Allah.
Mm-hmm.
In specific, the duty of the husband is primarily to protect and then to lead.
Islam.
As long as you have those two things covered, if you will, then you're able to foster a environment for growth.
Islam. Praise Allah. Right? Going into these instructions, in instruction 1 it states, and these are the instructions, Moses. These are marching orders. Prophet says, take unto thyself a wife, and obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife, and become a faithful member of society. Islam was? Again, I could stop there and do a whole demonstration just on that instruction, right? Because when you're building a society, there's certain elements you need in place, right? The men need to know specifically the work that they're called to do, okay? In military strategy, in military strategical thinking, right? There's something, known as, just as a couple examples, a frontal line, and flanks. Islam? The men constitute the front line, right? The men are the ones that are supposed to take the initial hit if need be, right? In defense or offense. But we as men know that no battle is ever won defensively, right? So you must initiate the attack in order to be successful, right? However, like again, looking at Northern Africa, if I could go to the map for a second. Prior to the Moors controlling Northern Africa, right? By way of the ancient divine creed of Islam, the Roman nations were all in Northern Africa, right? This country right here, Algeria, they had a big amphitheater, like a coliseum set up. And you take Asiatics and feed them to the lions in Africa. So the Europeans were doing this in Africa, right? Take women, just throw women to lions, just let them maul them, eat them, that type of stuff. When the Moors organized themselves with their brethren from Asia, under the divine creed of Islam, they pushed the Romans out. This is around the year early 700s and going towards 711 AD, right? What they created was a frontal line, right? Because this is Europe here, right? By creating a frontal line here, they made it impossible for the Europeans to come directly into Africa. Islam? Then they created two flanks, right? So the countries here, Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, which is present-day Somalia, the British put that there. But the point is that these countries here and these countries in Western Africa, all right, constituted the two flanks, right? So they couldn't come in this way either, right? Because first of all, the front line was handled, and they couldn't come around to the flanks because all of these was Muslims. What the prophets say, the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, right? These were the descendants of the ancient Moabites or the Moors, right? So we governed all this too. So the societies in Central Africa thrived. So you have the Songhai dynasty, Mansa Musa, all the Mali, all that was thriving because they were protected because they didn't have to worry about European invasion. Islam. Now, the same concept of how that front line and those flanks, were created to protect Africa. That's what the man does for the home, right? The job of the man is to make sure that nothing comes in and attacks the wife or the children. That's his job, right? Men on a primal level are hardwired to give up their life to protect that. It's totally illogical if you think about it, because it goes against self-preservation. It's kind of like the firefighter thing mentality, where self-preservation says if there's a fire, you run out of the house, right? But they train firemen to circumvent that natural, reaction, to go around that and to go run into the fire. Islam, all right? So it's the same thing. So duties of a husband, very, very important. And the type of wife that the brother chooses makes it even more important. So the prophet goes into instruction 2. He says, but examine with care and fix not suddenly. On thy present choice depends thy future happiness. Now he gives into the descriptive aspects. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise, if she laugheth much and talketh loud, if a foot abideth not in her father's house, which is dual meaning, by the way, and her eyes with boldness rove on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven, turn thy face from her charms, turn thy feet from her paths, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. Islam, Morris? Islam. Now that foot not abiding in her father's house, that could be if she has a righteous father, her biological father, right? Then her foot should abide in his house, to the point where when it comes to her even, considering, she should defer to her father, let the father interview. Islam, because in Islam, there's no girlfriends in Islam. Everybody's aware of that, right? We don't do that, right? It's husband and wife, period, right? If you're interested, you go to the head religious official, which could be imam, grand sheik, whomever, and say, this is what your forefathers did. Let's replay it a little bit. Islam, grand sheik, I'd like to set intentions on making sister so-and-so my wife. Oh, praise Allah. Praise Allah, brother. It's a good intention. Let me communicate with the sister and see what her position is on that. He goes to Islam, sister, brother, so-and-so has an eye for you. What are your feelings on the brother? Well, I don't know. We have to find it. So there's no, let's go to the movies and find out if we like each other. There's none of that in Islam. That don't exist, right? What exists is they come before the Grand Sheik, right? Because the Grand Sheik knows both. Knows the characteristics, knows, and just like a father, because a lot of us come from situations where we didn't have fathers. You know what I'm saying? I know brothers that were raised with no men in their environment. How would they learn about manhood if they was raised only by auntie, grandmama, mama, and some sisters, right? And honest to those situations, right? But when they come into society, we have to fill in a lot of gaps. Like I like to say, that here in the More Science Temple of America, we seek to, replace a lifetime full of bad habits that we've accumulated. Islam? So that's how that's supposed to go, right? And that's how, we've done things for thousands of years. So when we met the European, then we got away from that. Islam? The Prophet tells you to return to church and Christianity, right? Back to the European nations, for it was founded for their earthly and divine salvation. The earthly salvation parts of earthly salvation. But when we say the church and Christianity, we don't realize that Christianity constitutes the principles that allude to that as well. So we think it's just the Bible and Jesus Christ, and that's part of it. But Negro, black, and colored are Christian principles. Islam? Brothers out here running women. Those are Christian principles. Sisters out here running men. This is America. It's the American way, unfortunately. Right? But the point is that all these things help to tear the fabric of society apart. Prophet Noble Riley came to reinstill that and make us a people of law and order. Islam? See all that stuff he charged the Grand Sheiks with in the laws? You can't have that if the very essence of the membership is torn apart. Islam, Morris? All right, let's move forward. Instruction 4. But when thou findest sensibility of heart, so when you get control of your passions, because your passions get to going crazy. So the Prophet said, at that point, you're not using your reason. It's gone. Thinking, understanding, reasoning, willing, gone. Right? But when thou find sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manners, and an accomplished mind, with a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house, brother. Islam was? It didn't say move in with the sister brothers. Take her home to thy house. Islam? She is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. Oh, cherish her as a blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. That's that standing on that square. That square we're talking about, correcting those corners of our conduct. Islam, Morris? All right? Says she is the mistress of thy house. In this sense, in this context, mistress means master. Islam? She's the master of the house. She's the mistress of the house. Treat her therefore with respect, that thy servants may obey her. Islam? Oppose not her inclination without cause. She is the partner of thy cares. Make her also the companion of thy pleasures. Reprove her faults with gentleness. Brothers, if you don't agree with your sister, don't be screaming all on your sisters. Don't do that. Islam? One of our Moorish elders, one of the Grand Sheiks in our nation, it's come down that anytime a brother comes to the Grand Sheik, just complaining about the problems in the relationship, he automatically faults the brother. What'd you do, Mo? Well, now what she? Mo, what did you do, Mo? And how did you deal with it, Mo? What did you say to the sister, Mo? Don't make me call her hand, Mo, because she'll give it up. He always charges the brother. There's a reason for that. Islam, Morris? All right? And if so even if you don't agree, don't give you the authority. Islamically, they scream at them sisters. Islam, Morris? All right? And it has to get past my ears before yours. My wife is sitting right there. Y'all don't know how hot it is this direction right here. Woo! I'm sweating all on this side. Islam? But I'm striving. Islam, body. See, I got the Islam. Praise, like 2 apples, I do 3 or 4 more. Says, Reprove her faults with gentleness, exact not her obedience with rigor. And that obedience was, if you read the prophet's whole body of literature, he tells the brothers to submit and obey too. To sisters submit and obey, to the brothers submit and obey. So that's not one of those things. Prophet was not a chauvinist. Islam was. Says, trust thy secrets in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou shalt not be deceived. Be faithful to her bed, for she is the mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief, or instigate her pain, and be of more avail than 10 physicians. Islam was, I personally bear witness to that. You know, just having the level of love when your wife, or I'm gonna say wife because I'm a man, when your wife is sick or ill, to be able to just look and just, you know what I'm saying, you know, that demonstrate that love of Allah, you know, when you know, justice, mercy, love, and right, you demonstrating that. When she looks at you and like, wow, he really, that goes in and helps to heal, right? So it's more than just the medicines and the herbs and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff goes for naught if that person's environment is not surrounded with love. Islam was? Instruction 12, consider, that's a master's word, consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thine own imperfections. Islam, I got you more. All right? So the prophet charges his brothers, before you reprove the sister, remember how you were out of order at one time, and she might have been merciful to you. Islam? Now tell me these instructions are something that our people need. If we had these, would the divorce rate be 75%? Y'all know it's 75% in America? Might be more for Asiatics. I think those are European statistics. We don't do census and all that. We should. We get a better count of what's going on with us. But the point is that we don't really have accurate numbers about what's going on. So the numbers could be higher. Islam? Right? So I bear witness, man, that these instructions are something phenomenal for our people, because we gotta set our houses back in order. Islam was? All right? And I just want to draw from, go back one chapter. Being a Libra, my balance would be off if I didn't demonstrate the instructions for the sisters. Islam was? Chapter 21. So this is the lessons for the sisters. Islam. Marriage instructions for even though it says for man and wife from the noble prophet. As you read through, you notice it's mostly women, right? But the wisdom in that is that, you know, our open adversary knows that if he targets and destroys the woman, he can take out the whole household. So you don't live unto yourselves, sisters, right? Whatever affects you affects the entire household, right? Brothers, y'all ever been in that position where your wife is mad at you and she just shut off, she seal off, and she ain't saying nothing to you? And what's wrong with you? You ain't gonna say nothing? Boy, we can't handle that. I ain't gonna put that on the butt. I can't handle it. Not in my home. Islam, I need that interact straight up, right? But the reality of it is that that's your power. You affect the vibe. When mama ain't happy, the whole house ain't happy. So we all do what we got to do to make sure she's good. Islam, that's what it says, that she's the master of the house. Islam? So let's go in. It says, give ear, fair daughter of love, to the instructions of prudence, and let the precepts of truth seek deep in thy heart. So shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form, and thy beauty, like the rose it resembleth, shall retain its sweetness when its bloom is withered. Right? So our younger sisters put a lot of, adornment into, how they look, the looks and everything, right? But there'll be a time when those, gravity is real. Gravity pulls downward, right? So some sisters are able to evade that and look young forever. That's not always the case. So if it does affect you in a different kind of way, when you do get the crow's feet and the frown marks or whatever, right? The prophet tells you, said, let the precepts of truth sink deep in thy heart. So shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form. And it goes forward talking about when your bloom is withered. Islam? And he uses the rose in secret societies, some will call Masonic, so on and so forth, right? They use a term called sub rosa, right? S-U-B-R-O-S-A, sub rosa, which means under the rose, right? There's another, it's also known as sub silencio, which means under silence. The rose is a symbol of silence. You'll see dignitaries, they have the suit on with the rose right here. That represents the fact that they're under a certain aspect of secrecy, right? The prophet equates the woman to the rose because the man is supposed to entrust his secrets to the woman. And she's supposed to let peace be still and not utter his secrets. Islam? All right? Instruction 2. In the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze on thee with delight, and nature whispereth in thine ear the meaning of their looks, hear with caution their seducing words. Guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasions. Remember, thou art made man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passion. That instruction right there is where the prophet just freed our women. Islam, that's when he brought our sisters back to Islam right there, because there he's bearing witness that the woman has rights. The woman has rights. Islam Morris? It says, the end of thy being is not merely to gratify his loose desire, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart with thy tenderness and recompense his care with soft endearments. Who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love and reigneth in his breast? I'll tell you how bad the Asiatic woman is. The European did a bunch of stuff to brothers, man, but truthfully, he never really conquered brothers. You know, he might have took the knowledge of self, our God, our custom, took all of that away, right? But yet when they see us walking down the street and they look in our eyes, they still fear. You know, it's kind of similar. The similitude would be the lion in the cage, all right? So, you know, you don't really have nothing to worry about as long as the cage is locked, right? But you wouldn't necessarily stick your arm through them bars either. Islam? And that's how the European, when he looks at our brothers, you know, when you go to fill out the job application and you go for the interview, right? He's looking, the European sitting across the desk looking at you. So, tell me about your background. He's looking and you're telling him, and you're doing your best King's English. You know how we do, we switch over codes. Oh, yeah, sorry, I have 3 years, associate's degree, I've this, done that, I've done. But he's looking at you though. He's not listening to what you're saying. He's looking at them eyes. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to control him. Yeah, I ain't really just gonna be able to just say what I want to him to control him. Cause I might be saying something to check him, but I'm really doing it as a symbolic right to control them. Right. But if I do that to him, he might knock my block smooth off. Nah, I might not need to hire him. Islam Morris, how bad the Asiatic woman is, she could come in and seduce him and circumscribe him with a look or just walking past. I seen a sister do it, bro. Just walk past him, brother. She didn't even say nothing to one look. His whole, everything just shut down. He just might be talking to one of his boys. You all right? Yeah. Did you see that? And he like, yeah, I saw it. But she got him, his whole attention by just merely walking past. Because y'all represent the magnetic aspect. We're the electric. You're the magnetic. Together with Islam? You know, and if you were looking at it, you know, from a car battery sense, negative and positive, which don't mean good and evil, right? You would be the negative. We would be the positive. But you don't have nothing. Unhook that negative and see what happens. You ain't starting nothing. Islam? All right, move forward. It says, let's go to instruction 4. Who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love and reigneth in his breast? Lo, which means to look, right? Yonder, which means over there. Yonder, she walketh in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind and modesty on her cheek. Her hand seeketh employment. Her foot delighteth not in gadding abroad. That her hand seeketh employment, where's the prophet making reference to? Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31, midway the chapter, gives the breakdown of the virtuous woman they call her, right? Moving forward, says instruction 7, she is clothed with neatness. She is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory encircling her head. Why the prophet put the turban on the sisters as a symbolic right of that crown encircling her head. Islam? Right? And notice my wife and I both have turbans on tonight, right? But she has a crescent pen on hers and I do not. The prophet says put a crescent pen on hers. That symbolizes the open third eye. Brothers, you don't wear that. Islam? Islam. Right? Oh, but the sisters ain't got no right in the temple. Y'all better attend your meetings promptly. All right? It says, instruction 8, on her tongue dwelleth music. The sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words, and her answers are mildness and truth. Submission and obedience are the lessons of her life. And submission and obedience to Allah. Islam was? And peace and happiness are her reward. Before her steps walketh prudence, and virtue attendeth at her right hand. Her eye speaketh softness and love, but discretion with a scepter sitteth on her brow. Islam was? Brother, y'all ever do something and get out of, and she give you that look? You get that look from across the room, like, oh, I'm gonna have to deal with that later. That's that discretion with the, on her brow is a scepter. Moving forward. 12. The tongue of the licentious or the lustful is dumb in her presence. The awe of her virtue keepeth him silent. So it's her nature that checks. She don't necessarily have to say nothing. Her nature checks them. It's like, I've known brothers that go up, that see Muslim women and are attracted to them, but they're not Muslim. And they'll come to me like, I don't even know how to begin to talk to her. He ain't walking up to her asking her for her number and trying to holler. It's like, what is that? Her energy is totally different. Islam was? That's how the Prophet reformed us. Let's move forward. Says 13, when scandal is busy, they had a show called Scandal. When scandal is busy and the fame of her neighbors is tossed from tongue to tongue, if charity and good nature open not her mouth, the finger of silence resteth on her lips. For those taking notes, write down Isis, I-S-I-S, and Harpocrates, H-A-R-P-O-C-R-A-T-E-S, Harpocrates. In the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, you'll see Auset, which the Greeks call Isis, right? You see her holding a baby. That baby is Heru, right? But in this sense, he's known as Harpocrates because he's sitting there, and as she's holding him, he has his fingers over his lips like this, right? Demonstrating the fact of silence being golden. But if he's being held by his mother, who taught him that? His mother, right? It's the fact of silence being golden, right? Because anybody ever taken a vow of silence? Voluntary or involuntarily? How did you feel when you finally spoke? Or were you aware of it? When you hold your words back, it builds. It's an energy that builds in your body. To the point when you finally release those words, you got to be careful the magnitude that you release them in. Because you could shake up a person's mind. Islam was? All right? Absolutely. Instruction 14. Her breast is the mansion of goodness, and therefore she suspect no evil of others. Happy were the man that should make him his wife. Happy the child that should call her mother. She presideth in the house, and there is peace. She commandeth with judgment, and is obeyed. She ariseth in the morning, she considereth her affairs, and appointeth to everyone their proper business. The care of her family is her whole delight. To that alone she applieth her study, and elegance with frugality, she's frugal, is seen in her mansion. The prudence of her management is an honor to her husband. He heareth her praise with a secret delight. That word management is the word economy. Household management is economy. Islam says, she informeth the minds of her children with wisdom. She fashioneth their manners from the examples of her own goodness. The words of her mouth is the law of their youth. The motion of her eye, back to that again, commandeth their obedience. She shouldn't have to scream at her children in public. How many people's mamas could look at you when you was in Kmart or Target back in the day and you was wilding out in the toy aisle, and she looked at you and just shut you down? Islam? That's one of these women the Prophet was talking about. Says, instruction 22, she speaketh and the servants fly. She pointeth and the thing is done. For the law of love is in their hearts, and her kindness addeth wings to their feet. Which of the Greek gods had wings on their feet? Anybody remember? Say again? Hermes. That's so which is also known as Mercury, right? Which is the planet that goes around the sun the fastest. Islam? In prosperity, she is not puffed up. In adversity, she healeth the wounds of fortune with patience. The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels and sweetened by her endearments. He putteth his heart in her bosom and receiveth comfort. Happy is the man that has made her his wife. Happy the child that call her mother. Islam Morris? Now, that is an instruction that you cannot teach unless you're married. because you'll be teaching it from theory, right? You won't really be able to put it in motion properly, right? Because these things, you've experienced these things. Experience takes knowledge to the next level that they call wisdom, right? Okay. Something else I want to read. Draw from a few verses. Holy Quran of Mecca, Surah 4, which is chapter 4, right? Chapter 4 in the Holy Quran of Mecca is called An-Nisa. Everyone write this down for taking notes. Al-Nisa, which is A-L-N-I-S-A, Al-Nisa, which means the women, right? There's a whole chapter entitled The Women, right? There are those, when you tell people that you're a Muslim, that will seek to tell you that in Islam, women don't have rights, okay? There's a whole chapter dedicated to this, but I'm just going off to a couple instructions, okay? Starting at instruction 127, or ayat 127, okay? And, you know, in Arabic, the chapters are called surah, which literally means image, to create an image or a picture. And ayat, A-Y-A-T, literally means miracle. So each one of these, when they say what was the Prophet Muhammad's greatest miracle? It was the revealing of the Quran. It wasn't walking on water. It wasn't none of that. It was the revealing of the Quran. And each instruction, of which there's like 6,200 something verses, constitutes a miracle in and of itself. All right. So and keep in mind, this is 1,400 years ago. Ayat 127. They ask thy instruction concerning the women. Say, Allah doth instruct you about them, and remember what hath been rehearsed unto you in the book, talking about the Bible, concerning the orphan women to whom you give not portions prescribed. So in other words, let me stop there. It violates the law that if there's an orphan, for someone to steal their inheritance. You know, if there's an adoptive parent, their job is to protect their inheritance until they come of age. Okay, that's in our ancient laws. It says, and yet whom ye desire to marry, if that comes the case, when they get older and you choose to marry, you can't take their inheritance from them. But if they choose to share it with you, then that's lawful, right? It says, as also concerning the children who are weak and oppressed, that ye stand firm for justice to orphans. There is not a good deed which ye do, but Allah is well acquainted therewith. 128. If a wife fears cruelty or desertion on her husband's part, there is no blame on them if they arrange an amicable settlement between themselves. In Arabic, the word talaq, write that down, T-A-L-A-Q. Talaq is divorce in Arabic, right? And there's a process to that. 3-month period, meetings, mediation, back and forth, so on and so forth. If a wife, okay, so I've read all that. If they arrange an amicable settlement between themselves. And such settlement is best, even though men's souls are swayed by greed. But if they do good and practice self-restraint, Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. It says, you're never able to do justice between wives, even if it's your ardent desire, but turn not away from a woman altogether, so as to leave her, as it were, hanging in the air. This is before child support. This is Allah telling men, if you do leave that sister, you have to arrange finance to be paid for at least for the period of a year and to the duration of the children until they get grown. Okay? It says, if you come to a friendly understanding and practice self-restraint, Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. But if they separate, Allah will provide abundance for each of them from his all-reaching bounty. For Allah is he that careth for all and is wise. And with that, I'll yield. But if you take the time, you just go on Google and type in Holy Quran. You would spell that Quran. 4, you just type in 4, you can read the whole chapter. And it breaks down the whole thing about the women. Islam, boys? You know, praise Allah for returning us back to the laws of our forefathers. So even we should never have to take our business before the European. The Prophet taught us that Moors don't take your business before the European. All is well, Moor. He'll go into his subconscious is recording. All right? But the reality of it is that, you know, we have breakdowns in our situation. We feel as though we have to run to our former slave master to give us justice. Islam, you know, instead of going to your own organized body, you know, when will you govern yourselves? Right? That's what Moorish Science Temple of America is about. It's about governing yourself. First of all, you governing your own self. Not me governing you. It's you governing your own selves, right? Then as brothers and sisters, we get each other's back. You know, like if you haven't seen a brother or sister in the temple in a while, you see them running to them out there in the world. Islam, what? See you at the temple, bro, as well? What's going on? Your car broke down. I'll come pick you up. What time you need me to be there? Islam, You know, just that simple love, common concern, concern and caring for one another, parts of, and this is what it's going to take, all right? There's ones, of our Moorish forefathers, Moorish American forefathers, that lived their entire lives making sure that we had these lessons, Part of the reasons I had to go up, I had, do like a little bit of mediation and get some information on one of my elders that passed away last week. They had his janazah, what was it, Thursday, correct? Janazah? Yeah, where they put him in the ground, actually. It was Thursday, but then they had the ceremony on Tuesday. My elder, this was his obituary right here. I just want to put this in the record. Brother Azim Abdullah Bey. This is the brother that asked me the question, what's your nationality? Is the one that, made it possible for me to get my first nationality card. If it wasn't for this brother right here, I wouldn't be standing before you today. I'd be in the world doing something crazy, some folly. Islam. So this was my elder. Islam Morris, 63 years old. All right. But the point is that, I know there's ones amongst us, who give everything for this. Right. So, my thing is, I have a really big thing. If you know me, I can be a pretty jovial person until you show to me that you're playing with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Once I find out that you're playing with the Prophet, you become an enemy to me. Islam Morris? Prophet says, suspect evil of no one, but when thou seest it, never forget it. Right? He who has been an enemy can never be a friend. Islam Morris? My wife can tell you, if I'm not doing something Moorish or thinking Moorish or working towards a Moorish thing, I get physically sick. I get a headache. She'll tell you. Migraines. I need to be at the temple. Come honest to the acting Sheik right here. Before the meeting today, when I closed the barbershop down, I asked him how he was doing because he's always the first person here. Let me show you something about sincerity. Moore drives from Alabama every week to be here. Islam? Praise Allah, Moore. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, get that boy, brother Allahu Akbar for that. So that, for me, that eliminates excuses. More I can't be here, and you live in the same state, but the more comes a whole nother state away, right? But when I talked to the more, I looked at him, he looked a little more tired than usual. So, More, you all right? More, I'm drained, More. Praise Allah, More, but praise Allah for you being here, but I'm gonna need you to demonstrate till I get there. I didn't tell him that right then, I sent him a text later. Because he was so tired and want to burden him, so I hit him later. And when I came in, I was looking at him from the table over there, man. There's a power that actuates itself when you open the oracle up in prayer and you summon them Elohim. Right. It rejuvenates your form. You start speaking from a place don't have nothing to do with your physical form. Don't have nothing to do with how tired you are, how long your week was, how stressed you are, how much people's getting on your mind, on your nerves. None of that. But when it opens itself up, you begin to speak from stuff. Sometimes when it get good to you, stuff you've never studied, it just come out. And then as you're hearing it, it's like, I don't know if that's true. You know what I'm saying? But you can't stop it from coming out. And you confirm yourself later that, that was true. You was ahead of the curve on that. That's when Allah is taking over. And that's where you all want to get to be, when not just on a holy day, but you want to demonstrate that out in the world. Stuff like that. So when an adversity comes, you open the Elohim up and just, you speak from the creative spirits. It ain't even you, right? So your enemies will have to move around you because they can't take you head on, because what you're coming with is too potent. Islam? It's an eternal energy that when you're talking about something Moorish, I'll tell you about what the Europeans said about your forefathers. You can do this, close up about 2 minutes, if Allah wills. The European priests, the Catholic priests, back in the Dark Ages of Europe, they were the only Europeans that could read and write, right? In their journals, they said the Moors must have a pact with the devil because there's no way no one can know things that are about to happen unless they were aligned with the devil, right? There's no way they said ones could control the forces of nature unless they had some malevolent alignment with some forces or whatever, right? Because the things they've seen our forefathers do defied belief. Islam? All right? Look at yourselves. Our people, what the European put on us, we're supposed to be destroyed. Crack, AIDS, what is it nowadays? Perks, Molly's, oxycodone, all this. Our young people on everything and still ain't destroyed. AIDS, Tuskegee syphilis experiment, you survived it all. You know that terrifies the European. You know that, right? Y'all aware of that, right? They put everything out there to destroy you. It affects, maybe the first 3 to 5 years. After a while, that melanin adapt, shake it off, you keep on going. They're looking like, who are these people, right? They're trying to find a birth rate, a birth record for you, how old you are. Time never was. Well, man was not. If life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. We were always here. But I could date that European though. I could tell you when he came. I can tell you when he mutated out of us. I can tell you the situations that surrounded him mutating out of us. Islam? So such an ancient people should have an ancient and divine creed. Islam? Ancient people should have an ancient flag. Islam was? Your customs, everything you should be demonstrating in this day and time, there should be a direct link between you and that ancient world. Right? And it goes, because we measure time by cycle ages, it's not linear, right? So what you did in the past has to cycle back around to the future, right? But you have to be the 7 in the middle of the circle, demonstrating perfection on that square to propel your future generations. You ever see somebody do the high jump and they're looking, whatever, and it looks like the jump they're not gonna be able to make that. Islam? And they do it and they stretch, they elongate their body in a certain way. It's just beautiful. Islam? All the things that we're laboring towards as a people, it's us elongating ourselves to go beyond what people say we can't do. And we reset that every generation, right? These young people that are in this room, they're gonna do something that's gonna blow all of our minds. We did things, I was born in 1972. The children of the 70s were the first one to question and say, yeah, we don't really believe in that dude you got up there as Jesus. I don't believe that something. It's something in me, I don't believe that. Right? Whereas the generations before us, they kind of went for it. Islam was, right? And then the children we gave birth to are almost atheists, unfortunately. They don't believe in anything, right? So we don't want to take it that far because you can never show me a time where we didn't acknowledge a creative source. We always have, right? Even if we had to take it to internally, which is what we acknowledge. That divine eternal existence is within us, not outside of us. Islam was? Are there any questions, comments, concerns, or statements? Covered a lot tonight, right? Yes. Praise Allah. If I didn't impart anything to you tonight, I got you. Islam.
We're just going to rise and praise to Allah. His love don't may manifest. Prophet Nubuju Ali.
Islam.
Just going to camel back on the theme for this evening and say that in my years of living, I can say without a contradiction that if it were not Islam, man would need some mechanism. He would need some type of corrective mechanism embedded into him in order to progress and not overdose on the sensations and the other things on a physical plane that we are bound to.
Islam.
It's inevitable for man, nature urges thee, O man,
to inconstancy.
That various and wavering and instability we get from our parents. These things are even though we're born with unlimited capability for progress and perfection, we have to unfold that seed. And Islam is that mechanism.
Islam.
For man to correct oneself on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if it wasn't for Islam, man would need something.
Islam. There's a book, many people have read. It's called Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad. And in the back of the book, there's 2 sections. There's one where he invited the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan to a Savior's Day. And that Grand Wizard, J.B. Stoner, was actually from here in Atlanta. This is in the 60s. Invited him to the Savior's Day, and the brothers and sisters, of course, they was booing him and stuff like that. Elijah Muhammad said, no, you are civilized people. This is your guest. Listen to him. So the European gets up there and he tells him, he's like, you all should listen to this man. He said, because, he's telling you that Christianity is not your religion. He said, Islam is your religion. He was demonstrating history. He said, Islam is your religion. He said, you should listen to what he's telling you about Islam. The brother was saying, to Camelback on the brother, what he was saying about Islam being a corrective measure. Most of the movements that we know in this country were spawned and inspired by some type of Islamic connection, right? And it's no strange happening because as handed down, that's the last empire that we were connected to. I ain't talking about clans and tribes. People get talking, what tribe you from? Well, I took a DNA test and I'm from Sierra Leone. I'm whatever tribe, right? We're talking empirical, imperial status here. The Moors ran an entire empire, and that empire was an Islamic empire. This is the thing that gave the world, when we talk about mathematics and astronomy and all this, it was those Moorish ancient fathers who were Muslims and mothers who were Muslim that gave this to humanity. So the European knows this, A, because we were the ones that enslaved them first as Muslims, right? And two is the fact that, Columbus and all them, when they were first coming over here, they had Moorish navigators. That's in their history too. You see, so the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria were all navigated by Moors. Islam, they acknowledge that. They know these things, right? But again, we don't know who we are. And as a result of us not knowing who we are, we violate universal law, right? Now, universal law does not have emotion, okay? So it doesn't say, oh, well, you meant well. So no, all it knows is there was a violation that needs to be addressed. So you interpret that as problems that are taking place in your life. Something happened, it's working against me. Seems like somebody is against me. Yeah, it's you. Islam? There's only one, enemy or devil from which man must be redeemed. What's his name? Self. And once you acknowledge the devil that's within, get him in order, then you can move forward. Then you can hear the small, still voice and make something happen. All right? Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns, or statements? All right. With that, I will move forward and lower the meeting. Islam? Wow. Islam? Islam? Islam. Islam. Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam? 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 Islam. Islam. All praise are due to Allah and the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Moors? Islam. Praise Allah, Moors. I just like to say, just as a statement from myself, that if it wasn't for the Moorish Science Temple of America, as a man, I don't know where I would be. I don't know if I would have the right guidance to govern my family properly. I don't know if I would have the proper guidance to, when my children get out of line and do things according to their own understanding, to be able to handle that, with wisdom, will, and love. Islam, Moors? I just don't believe that, that I would have these tools, because if that were the case, I would have had them before I met the prophet, and I didn't. Islam? And the interesting part about it is that when I found the prophet, when the prophet found me, because I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't. I was in the world, to and fro on earth, devouring. Islam? And then my elder asked me a question, and I've been on the path ever since. Islam, Moors? So, praise Allah for sending us a divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Moors. I want to evolve our temple into, when we demonstrate Friday nights, we kind of been doing the temple of disservice by not allowing the people to demonstrate, what they feel about the Moorish movement. So I'd like to ask, if I can get 3 volunteers, to just rise, give their honors, and just give a small demonstration of what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish Science Temple of America means to them. Floor is open. 3 volunteers, anyone? Brother Jamar, he beat you to the punch, Mo. Silent auction, boy. We both beat you, boy. Islam.
Rise and give high honors, high praise, perfect praise to Allah, eternal, incomprehensible, and absolute. Until His love thought made manifest. Our Prophet Noble Ali.
Islam, boy.
I just want to say what the Prophet has done for me is give me the tools needed to build my character, to set my house in order, to adjust and readjust myself on a daily basis, and to give me a sure destination for victory. Amor is synonymous with a philanthropist of the arts. He garners the sciences and things that uplift humanity, industry, business. He's a Renaissance man and woman. He's one who, when he comes, he always comes up right. He always his character is always right and exact. You know, he's always got something good to say.
Praise Allah.
He's always got some knowledge. He's always got, you know, something in good in his wake and in his wing. And it is this example, this walk, as we used to say in the church, you know, picking up the cross and following Jesus. It is this example that he has given us in real time. And for me and my family, it's been priceless.
Islam. Praise Allah. Brother Akel?
So I'm gonna rise, giving most high praise to Allah and the highest of honors to His noble prophet, Ali, Islam. We're speaking on the prophet or on
Prophet, Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Divine National Movement, any of it.
With respect to the prophet, we know we talk about him being Jesus' return. I feel that the prophet is my older brother.
Islam.
I feel a connection, and they talk about a master leaving his trail clearly cut
Islam.
in the sand, so that you can see that the master went that way.
Islam.
So that is what the Prophet Noble Ali means to me in terms of how to correct my character and build how to build my character. And even now it's so dope because I am an educator, and so I see how he educated his Moorish American children.
Islam.
And it's like, all right, cool. I'm educating these Moorish American children at a very young age. I'm in the elementary, so it's beautiful. The Moorish Science Temple of America is home.
Praise Allah.
Islam.
Islam, more. Praise Allah. And it would be right if I didn't hear from the sisters. Can I hear from a sister? My sister, I know you're new, but you know, what have you received about the Prophet Noble Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America just so far?
So far, I just can resonate with it. It feels right to me. Like it feels like this is, something that I should be doing. I came here and I said I
Speak up a little.
I wanted to assist. I wanted to help because throughout my years of being in the church, it just didn't feel like it was something. I was always missing something. Like I always say, this is it for me. When I started to study more and get more in depth with things, and I realized that there's a certain peace that I have and enlightenment that I've grown and changing in my character.
Islam.
And I just want to continue that.
Praise Allah. That's beautiful. Islam, Moors. I would like to leave you with the Moor said, the Moor is a patron of the arts. I'm gonna leave you with a small poem. I didn't write it. Just gonna let you know that. We have poets in the room, but we'll leave that alone now. We'll revisit that at another time. This is from an ancient master named Khalil Gibran. Ironically, from a writing he put together called The Prophet. And this is on self-knowledge. And it's page 54 in this record. It says, and a man said, speak to us of self-knowledge. And he answered saying, Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known and thought. You would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams. And it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run murmuring to the sea. And the treasure of your infinite depths will be revealed to your eyes. But let there be no scales to weigh your unknown treasure, and seek not the depths of your knowledge with staff or sounding line. For self is a boundless sea and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like the lotus of countless petals. Islam Moors, that's another aspect of your forefathers' culture, demonstrating Allah's oneness through poetry as well. Islam Moors? So from time to time, we might call some poetry masters to close out the meeting. Islam Moors? And with that, we'll close the meeting as we do. Please rise, face the east, which is right ahead of you. Hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, standing on your square. Please raise 5 on the left, 2 on the right, invoking the sacred presence of the 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. For our visitors, please adopt a position of prayer that is comfortable for you in giving homage to our collective creator. Please repeat after me.
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
the Father of love,
truth,
peace,
freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide, and my salvation, by night, and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam Moors. Islam Moors.
Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah.